More sanctions are on their way against Russia. What could they look like? Well, Peter Stano is the lead spokesperson for external affairs at the European Commission and joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning from Brussels.
Talk to us about how far you feel these sanctions are going. Some people would say they're not going far enough. It's just tinkering around the edges. For example, banning coal amounts to 4 billion euros a year for Russia. But Russia exports goods worth over 290 billion euros in 2020. It's not much.
Well, always with the European sanctions, whenever we take any decision, there is always a criticism. We are not doing enough. We are not doing it fast enough. But let's not forget that this is the latest round of sanctions. Until now, we adopted 4 big, massive packages of sanctions, and they are biting the Russian economy. Now, the proposal for the 5th package of sanctions contains, among other things, as you mentioned, the ban on coal imports, which are worth 4 to 5 billion euros a year. But then we are banning also other products, export and imports, and this amounts to further tens of billions of euros. And this combined with the previous sanctions, with the sanctions affecting financial sector, transportation, industrial sector, and combined with the sanctions adopted by our partners like United States and other like-minded partners, around 40 countries are adopting similar measures or aligning with our sanctions. This is a combined effect on the Russian economy and on the ability of Kremlin to finance its ongoing aggression against Ukraine. So we hope that Kremlin will feel, and they indeed already feel, the impact of the sanctions. And we have said all along, I mean, this is not the end. As long as the bloody and murderous campaign against Ukrainian people continues, we will continue with the sanctions.
But the real thing here is oil and gas, isn't it? Clearly, the UK doesn't have the dependence on Russian oil and gas that other EU countries, particularly Germany, has. And the New York Times has been reporting that Russia continues to export oil and gas in large volumes. The spike in prices because of the war has led to increased revenues. And on April the 1st, economists for Bloomberg predicted Russia's energy export earnings would increase by more than a third in 2022. So if you want to hit Russia where it hurts, you need to ban oil and gas exports to the EU. Why aren't you doing it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is something the European Union and its member states are very well aware of. And that's why they said already last month that we are determined and we are doing everything we can to cut off our dependency on Russian fuel and gas. It's not only Germany, actually, which is not really dependent on to a very, very large extent, but there are countries in Central and Eastern Europe which are dependent to 95% on Russian oil or gas. So this is something that you cannot switch off from one day to another without hurting yourself very much. But there is determination, there is policy, and there are steps being taken in order to cut ourselves off from the Russian fossil fuels in general. So this is something we are working on. It cannot happen from one day to another, but of course we are aware that this is something that needs to be done as soon as it gets, and we are doing it. But again, cutting off oil and gas imports is not the only tool. It's not the only magic tool how we can hurt Putin, and we are hurting him in all the other ways, and these are also very important.
Many experts are saying that this war could drag on for many years if Russia isn't stopped. And some people would argue it would be better for the EU to act harder and faster. And actually, it would cost less in the long run.
Well, absolutely. But let's face the truth. I mean, EU is 27 member states, but the world community is much more than 27 member states. Russia is a global problem. What Russia is doing now against Ukraine is not only Europe's problem, because actually the fallout and the consequences, the negative and damaging consequences, are felt not so much in Europe, but they are felt in Asia, in Africa, by countries whose food security is put in danger by the reckless behavior of Kremlin. So this is something, I absolutely agree with what you said, and this is the view of the European Union. Of course, we have to do everything we can to prevent Russia from continuing this campaign, to prevent that this conflict is going to drag on for months or even years. This is something we don't want to see, but this is a task for everyone in the international community. Every single civilized nation has to stand up and join forces with us to contain Russia, because what Russia does constitutes a huge danger for the rules-based order, for the multilateral system, and for many countries around the world when it comes to respecting the rules, their territorial integrity, their sovereignty, and of course, the food security in this country. So this is a joint task for everyone around the world.
Do you think these sanctions will be approved by the 27 member states?
We certainly hope so. Usually, the European institutions are not submitting something that would be designed to fail. So we hope and we work with the member states towards the adoption of these sanctions as soon as possible. Because the objective, the aim of these sanctions is very clear: is to stop the bloodshed which is being committed on Ukrainian civilians and to stop the ongoing destruction advanced by Kremlin's war machinery. So the objective is clear. We are all working towards this end. And again, it's not only 27 countries of the European Union, it's also a number of partners around the world with whom we are coordinating and working together to limit Putin's ability to continue to finance this murderous enterprise.
How far is Europe willing to go to stop Russia?
Well, we have said all along that nothing is off the table. So as long as we are able to find unity of 27 member states and also consensus of the international community, and over 140 countries are condemning what Russia is doing. Over 140 countries are calling on Russia to stop this illegal and unjustified aggression. So if we all continue to stick to our principles and to our resolve, then we will be determined to go further and continue with the sanctions and all the other measures at our disposal to stop Russia, or at least to limit its capacity to continue with this aggression. And let's not forget, I mean, our support to Ukraine is not only in sanctioning Russia. At the same time, we are working on increasing the international pressure and isolation of Russia. And we are supporting Ukraine with substantial financial and other assistance, including in the military field.
Peter Stano, thank you for joining us today, lead spokesperson for external affairs at the European Commission.